I really have a lot of thoughts with this. I've been thinking about for the whole past year or so, and what I want to do with it. But the base idea is intimate connection with people.
Mm-hmm.
Because I love talking to people. I love going to those mixers or whatever you call it. But there can be a little too much noise and too much happening at once. And I love like talking to individual people and really finding ways to connect. That's the bare bone
100%. I
way.
mean, 90% of my contracts and businesses are a shake of hands at a bar or a coffee shop or something like
And
that.
that's
You
what
know what I mean?
inspired it. Like everybody loves coffee. I'm a huge coffee addict. Most of the creative people in this
You
industry
have to
loves
be.
coffee. Like, hey, you want to go grab coffee? And I have a big obsession with coffee. I got into it a couple of years ago because I was tired of paying so much money of it. And I read books. I went to online. I took classes online on how to be a barista and things like that. I know how to make coffee about 8 different ways of making it. And now I'm learning single origin, roasting, blending, and things like that. So that's a whole other science. And I might want to create my own coffee company down the line, but I have to
Perfect. You can
do.
shoot all the content for it.
But I want to do all the time that it needs to learn it and to perfect it, whatever perfection it means.
Mm-hmm.
Because we're an industry where we want to be perfectionists, but we have to keep doing stuff because what is perfection? You know, let's see.
Cheers. Thank you
Taking
very
that
much.
first sip. Enjoy.
Thank you. Thank you.
That's my first cup.
It's really nice. It's really, really nice.
That's a Colombian. Mm-hmm.
It's really good.
That's good, yeah. It's funny because there are these stages of roasting, and I have learned that I have to time like each individual stage. Have you seen? Do you know how coffee beans are made?
Mm-hmm.
So there are I think around 4 different methods of harvesting them or something. It looks like a cherry.
Okay.
So and there's a one way where they take these cherries off and they leave it outside, so it's gonna be dried, and then they're gonna take the dried cherries off of it. And then there's a way where they put it in water and then with like it's called the wet process, and it just they take the cherries off. Doesn't matter, but depending on the process, the bean is gonna have different flavor profiles, and it needs a different roasting. Anyway, and
The same way you would with a grape for wine.
yes,
things of
so
that nature.
it's very similar to all those, which I had no idea. It's such a mental thing. Like we drink it all the time, but we have no idea. Like, why should we? We're drinking it,
Right.
but when you get into it, you then start to appreciate. Like, yeah, these are good coffee because of these factors. And why I'm saying it is when I got into it and I started roasting my own, I realized that all these things I need to like be a bit more anal about how I'm doing it. And it takes when I'm roasting it, I can't just brew it the next day. I have to for espresso because of the gases. I have to wait at least a week and a half. So I don't even know if they're turning out good.
Until you try it.
I mean, I do know if it smells like if it smells burnt, it won't be that good.
Right.
But if it smells pungy and more like very complex, then most likely it'll taste pretty good.
Amazing. Amazing.
So I'm happy with this batch.
You did good, my man.
Oh, thanks. Ooh, so Ben,
Yes, sir.
you were telling me a little bit about your background and where you grew up, and I want to hear more because I was kind of similar to that. Hungarian American, born in the States, moved to Hungary, yada yada. I'll tell you later, but tell me more about you, Ben.
Sure. So I was born in London, right in the city, North London. My family, my mom was in theater. My dad was in music. He owned a recording studio out there. So it was very kind of like rock star, diverse lifestyles that were brought into me. So I was around everything from a very, very young age, which I think is the most beautiful thing in the world. And from there, we moved to LA when I was 10. grew up there. I was doing music at the time, and then I moved that to New York City for 8 years, and then I was back and forth between LA and New York, and then here we are in Nashville.
Wow. That's a very good way.
I mean, there's a lot more detail within a lot of
worked that out.
things, but that was the like chapter 1, chapter 2, chapter 3.
I'm very similar. My dad was in the army for 20 years,
Amazing.
the American army, but both of my parents are Hungarian. He went to Hungary, met my mom, got married, and came back to the States. I was born in Fort Bragg. Now it's called something else, Fort Liberty, I think.
Mm-hmm.
And then when I was 7, moved back to Hungary, lived there until I was 17, moved to Boston, or I moved to Nashville, studied guitar, always wanted to be a musician. I looked up to people who created something new, like Miles Davis, people like that who dare to stretch what they can do with music,
Mm-hmm.
who I mean, he came up with Bitches Brew, the jazz fusion stuff, and that was very innovative. So as a kid, as a guitar player, I never really wanted to be just a guitar player. I wanted to be a music producer, but I was always also visual. So I'm like, oh, I was kind of everywhere.
How grateful are you though for that 7 to 17? Because those are more of like your growing years, right?
Yes.
And when you're in a place like London or Hungary,
Yeah.
you have more access to people of different cultures. Like in England, right?
Mhm.
It's easier for me to get from London to France
Oh,
than
yeah.
it would be from Nashville to Denver.
Oh, yeah.
And not saying that there isn't a different culture in Nashville and Denver, but not on the same scale as England and France,
yeah.
countries. So you having that at that age too, that accessibility to different cultures, do you think that shaped how you did music, how you got into film, how you do contracts now, how you interact with people?
Oh, yeah, I think so.
It was defining
Yeah.
for me. Like the accent's gone, but
did you have an accent?
strong. But then I came
A
here when I was
British accent.
10 and no one could understand me. And I used to get the shit
Wow.
kicked out of me every day.
That
So
is crazy. I still have my accent. Everybody thinks, "Oh, where are you from?" I'm American. I
Right.
just bring my American voice.
I mean, you know how it is, right? You talk to your family or you have a couple of drinks and
it's come
certain
back.
words will pop out every now and then.
Is you
but-
British? Does that come back when you talk to folks?
Yeah. I mean, I don't hear it as much, but I'll go visit family in England and then come back here, and for the next couple of days, I'm a little bit more popular
Wow.
than typically. And then the accent will fade away again, and it's like, all right, just back to it. But
That is funny.
It's to me, where you grow up, it's not accent based or anything like that. It's a mentality, right?
Yes.
That's instilled in you. So even when we were in Los Angeles, it was a British household.
Mhm.
And those were the ideals and the way of thinking that we grew up around and on. So, which is very, very different than American ones, which I'm sure was the same for you.
Oh,
but
yeah. I
not better, not worse, just different.
No.
That's all.
and I love hearing that, because what an interesting thing that people usually ask me, "Oh, what did I like better?" I'm like, I don't know if I can say better, but it's different. It definitely gave me perspective. It definitely gave me a different way of looking at things. Like I lived most of my life there, but now it's kind of equalized because I've been living here since 2011.
Sure. And what's also,
But-
when you do that, it's also different stages in your life, right? Like New York
True.
City
That's true.
is my favorite one out of all of them. I love New York, but I was also in my low 20s then
Ooh.
with zero responsibility, able to drink a lot more than I can now, and was able to just live life. So, but if I tried to go replicate that now, it wouldn't be the same. Do you know what I mean? It's like your ex, right? That you think about
Yes.
them and you're like, oh, it would be so good. We had such a good time. And then you get back together and you're like, no, still shit. There was a reason we broke up. Like,
Yeah.
that's what New York is to me. It was
Interesting.
my first love, my romance back then. But sometimes it's better to let things be that
Yeah.
and let that memory be beautiful instead of trying to duplicate it at a later stage in life. So
Interesting. New York. Wow. How long ago did you move to Nashville, and what inspired you to move to Nashville?
it was twice actually. So I was in New York and I was doing music at the time, and I signed with this independent label that was trying to get me to move to Gainesville, Florida. One of the main investors was the head coach of the Florida Gators basketball team.
Mm-hmm.
So he wanted me to come there so he could pump it through the college. And I was like, there's no chance in this world I'm moving to Gainesville, Florida. Like, I hadn't heard of it at the time. He was like, okay, I got some connections in Nashville. And I was like, I'll give you a month. So I came to Nashville. This would have been... It was 7.5, 8 years ago. And recorded the EP that I was working on at the time. Met a girl, as you do.
Nice.
And then from there, we went back to New York. Then we went to LA. And then I've now officially moved back here since March of 2020. So I was one of those horrible California people that all came and stormed this place during COVID. So.
Wow.
So just over 4 years now.
Oh,
officially.
Wow.
Officially.
Okay, cool.
But those first 2 COVID years, kind of count, kind of don't. But
interesting.
my son's here, so that's
your son. How old is your son?
He's 6. Jackson's 6. And then I've got Oliver, who's 4. So.
Nice. Wow. How did you balance being a dad and doing your passion?
One, it's all I've ever known. One, it's all I've ever known, right? Like that's what I've been doing for the last decade, which they weren't always around for, obviously being so little, but it got far enough. It was tougher because in LA, everything was great. And I was making really, really good money as an actor. And that was my full-time gig. But then COVID happened, shut it down. Then I moved to Nashville, which is a smaller market, an up-and-coming market, but smaller. It was really, really tough. There was a lot of sacrifice that went into things. I think during COVID, I was still acting, but I had to jump on planes. Took something like 186 COVID tests.
Holy
during that
cow.
Time. Because
how did your nose feel?
It was brutal. They got a bit easier towards the end.
Jeez.
But I would have to take them before I got on the airplane. Then right before I got on set. If it's a multiple day shoot, then each day. Then I'd have to do it before I got back on the plane. Then I'd have to do it again before I'd go see my kids.
Wow.
So it was literally just
dang.
At all
that's
times.
admirable.
But then you had to make money, right? And
yeah.
It's a super hard balance. It's a game of you miss some stuff with the kids sometimes. But it's also a privileged occupation in the sense that I have a bit of say over my schedule. But once you break it down over the course of a year, there's only like 180 days that I can really, really work. And, it's a tough place where you have to decide between, do I want to go to my kids, whatever it is, or do I want to go earn money so he can eat after that? You know what I mean? Oof. Like, it's a really, really tough thing. It's not just, but I think that's the tough thing. It's not just sacrifice on my end. It's tough on your friends. It's tough on relationships. It's tough on, trying to date when you're in this industry is, difficult because you're essentially have a very selfish lifestyle in the sense of you have to get up and go. You have to cancel plans all the time. You also, at the drop of a hat, be out of town. And then if they're not in the industry, now you're dealing with a lifestyle or maybe around people that they're not accustomed to doing, like romantic scenes and things like that.
Oh, yeah. So, that must be interesting.
I'm very upfront about it from the get-go. I'm not going to change it because
that's your job.
Professional.
You're an actor.
And anyone who's been on set, whether you're the actor, the director, the PA, or whomever you are, that shit does not look like it does once you see the final product. Yes, it is the most unsexy thing you will ever be a part of. It's just, you got the camera right here, makeup coming, touching you up. Like,
is there an intimate coach or what is that role called? I've seen there's one person We'll make sure that there's that covered and things like that.
Sure. I feel like that's a bit newer.
Oh, it's a new thing.
Not like new, but newer in the grand
Mm.
scheme. I feel they're more necessary for bigger production, full sex scenes.
Mm.
I don't know for a country music video
Uh-huh.
to for a kissing scene, like,
Yeah.
but it goes both ways, right? Like, I will always tell someone, like, it's my job, it's what I do, I can't change that. But on the
Yes.
flip side, you will never ever get an ounce of jealousy out of me. If you're going out on a Friday night, put on your tiniest little dress. We're both adults, everyone knows where the line is. It's got to go both ways. If you're gonna ask for something on one end, you got to give on the other. So
I think that makes sense.
it's too exhausting to not trust people anyway. So.
I remember when we met. Well, we didn't really meet, but when we first got what's the word, in touch.
Mm-hmm.
I was working on this music video, Understand My Love. We're looking for a cop there. It was basically kind of a Charlie Chaplin meets old brother where art thou type of production. And then we did another music video the next day where we were looking for a couple or something. And actually, no, I'm totally wrong. It was for a different thing. It was for a country artist.
Mm-hmm.
And they wanted a couple and they wanted a kissing scene. And so many people actually dissed us and they were not comfortable doing kissing scenes. So then we had to look for a couple. But the problem was that one person was very shy and we had to do a lot of directing on how to be romantic.
I struggle so on when I'm directing.
Yeah.
That's been one of the toughest things in Nashville.
Romantic scenes?
A lot of them seem to be like, oh, well, I have a boyfriend, I have this. I'm like, that's fine. But then don't submit for it. Like, I'm not going to change the storyline because of it. But coming from LA and New York, it's just kind of like, all right, let's go do the scene. Like, people are just used to doing it. It's tougher out here. I have one actress. I mean, I've done multiple of them, but there's one particular actress I probably submitted with her to your thing, that we just get placed in everything as the couple together.
Huh.
She's like one of my dearest friends out here too. Like, we're like peoples. Like, I'm sure everyone thinks. I mean, we talk about it, we laugh. We actually just did a music video where we had to be in bed together. It was like these very like scenes. And we pound it after and high five and hug it out, and that's my people. It's like when you can separate that and just turn into that moment and give that performance, like, you have to let go of the best stuff on camera. Is probably when you feel you look the most stupid, right?
Really?
If you feel stupid, it probably looks really, really good.
Interesting.
But if you're trying to look cool, then it looks like you're trying to act.
Interesting.
So if you can just let go completely and just be in that moment, and the tough thing is that I notice, I mean, you've probably seen it too with couples, like they'll be like, say they're laying in bed, right? And it's like, one arm over and like you're stroking the face or something like that. They don't talk. So it's just, which no one does. Like, if you're laying in bed with your significant other and you're having this sweet moment, like, you're having those sweet little things. So then they get nervous about what to say. Whereas, like, just envision that this person is the love of your life, is your real boyfriend, is the last person you dated, is the last person you laid in bed with and cuddled with. Like, just be in that moment. And I think you might feel really stupid, but it might look really, really good too. And that's just the biggest thing for me, is just you have to let go completely and just trust that your director probably won't pick the shot that you do look really, really stupid in, and will pick the best one. Don't be afraid to fail. And ask questions. Sorry, now I'm ranting on the directing side. I think it's really important with actors, because directors, right, we have it in our head all the time. We've seen it before it's even happened. Ask your director. Ask him to show you the face that you want him or her to make you.
Mm.
Like, do it and then make it your own from there. But don't be afraid to ask questions. I ask questions all the time on set when I'm
From the
acting.
director?
Yeah, absolutely. What do you envision? Okay, perfect.
Mm.
And then put your own little twist on it and let that be your individualism. And that's how something becomes a collaboration and not a dictatorship on something. And that's the
Hmm.
biggest way to me that art grows is by collaboration. It's a community now,
Yeah.
right? So
Where do you draw your inspiration as an actor? Do you have actors, uh, roles or things that you love, or directors that you love, or styles?
I think I mean, of course, there's, we all have people that we idolize and look up to. But to me, it's more the idea of the story in
Mhm.
general and where that character, and to me, on camera, subtlety sells, right? Like me going and being like, oh, I love you so much, and you're this amazing person, and you're the sun, and you're the moon, or just, I love you. And sometimes just that simplicity, that subtle moment, it speaks volumes opposed to all the extra stuff. You know what I mean?
Yes, you can see on movies or shows that don't do these subtleties that good, and you know that something's off about it. I remember talking to my friend and I when we look at movies and stuff. We always talk out loud and like that looked kind of cheesy or something.
Just a smile or a look or something like that can really, really sell an emotion more than trying to look emotional.
Hmm.
So I guess I guess in the long-winded answer of your question, it is that part of the artistry that I try to attach the mannerisms of what I think the character would do in that moment. And that's the
Wow.
biggest thing for me is just what are his ticks? What is his emotion to it without having to show you that I'm emotional? Is it just him putting his head down when he's sad? Is it that little look up when he's inspired? Is it, you know what I mean? Like
Wow.
just those
That's
little
cool.
moments. So
So you must know, um, or you must be a very good reader of character then, because you're directing other people and you think a lot about these micro expressions and things like that. I could be wrong, but that's what I'm thinking. Like, wow, you're thinking about all these micro movements, micro expressions, and things like that.
you will never be on set and see a director act more than when I'm there. Because when, I
Wow.
can tell an actor to do something, but I feel like as human beings, like we're so much more visually based than audible, right? Meaning like if I show you something, now you've seen it. Now you can duplicate or take it and twist it and make it your own. So you'll see me on set, even if it's, for like
Yes.
the girls role and I'm walking down being a girl on it's fine. Like I want you to see it, and it's just how I connect with them, and I find that it it correlates better with the actor on that one. But then when you've also been an actor for so long, you know how to talk that talk with actors. You know the
Interesting.
stuff that pisses them off. You know the stuff. I'm sure you've had this or been on sets where actors have shown up and then they've sat around for 3 hours before they even get on camera. We base all of our schedules on you're going to get paid the same amount, but I'd rather get the best 4 hours out of you than stretch it to 8 hours. So we make our schedules based around how can we limit hours of people being there.
Oh. Mhm.
And that does wonders as well. Plus, it bumps up your hourly rate. You know what I mean? When you
Yeah.
break your day rate into hours, I'd rather pay you $500 for 5 hours and get the best out of you than 500 for 10.
Yeah. And you're
It,
not lingering
as
around.
long as I get what I need and
Yes,
you
yes.
got what you wanted,
Wow, interesting. What is your creative process?
um, as far as a director,
Sure, let's start with director. You're very multifaceted, and you said that directing is your favorite, right?
I enjoy it,
Or
but I
enjoy.
also
Mm.
miss acting when I'm so stocked up with directing. But then again, like I said, I get to act on set even when I'm directing, so I get that little like kick. And then also, if I don't have to direct and be in charge of everything, then the acting days are just like easy days. You know what I mean? Like those are.
So what's the hardest job part of the, or what's the hardest thing if you were to think about it? This has the most responsibilities. This takes most of my time in my job.
I think every creative will tell you it is harder to get the work than it is to do the work.
Oh man.
So when I'm directing for the company, but it's, my company, so I'm producing as well.
Yeah.
It's the work before that has nothing to do with the creative side
Yeah.
whatsoever. That's the most work.
Finding the job is
It
what
is
you mean, right?
easier to shoot a music video than it is to go get someone to pay you to do
Yeah.
it.
Yeah. I mean, as a solo entrepreneur now, or solopreneur, whatever the word is, I look at it two ways. There's the working on the company and working for the company. And working on the company is leveraging the material that you did when you worked for the company. So, like, how can I use this music that I produced, this music video, this ad, to how can I use this as an advertisement to put it out there to get other work, and then to have short form content, yada yada yada, all this stuff, all this other work that is not even working actively for the company, but just to try to find gigs.
And everyone, it doesn't have to be within film, right? Like every small business owner will tell you, I'm the CEO, I'm the accountant, I'm the running errands, I'm this, I'm that. You have to. It's part of the game. But you got to earn the right to be able to pay someone else to take that off your shoulders.
Exactly. Until somebody makes enough. I don't even know what's the best way to put it, but you just said it right. Like until you are at one person, or you is at that point, you can't hire other people. So you have to do all of the things. So you also understand what it takes to do all of those things. Marketing, I have to know a little bit about that, or a lot.
Everything.
Everything.
The flip side of that is I'll bitch about it, right? About all the stuff that I have to do. But it's that before we start shooting, that you can create those bonds with the client. So now there's trust. And that's like, I don't ever care about the money that I'm going to make on a project. I care about how am I going to make 10 more paydays from you after that. So once we've signed a deal, I don't care about that money. It's got to be the next paycheck, right? You always have to be looking forward. So during that time is where professional friendship and things of that nature, that starts to come into play. So that's your longevity. So it's almost, even though it drives me nuts with all the marketing and all the strategizing and all the numbers and accounting and everything that goes into it, it's those back and forths where you get that relationship.
Yes.
And once you have a relationship with a client, now it feels like if you do a good job too, now it'll feel like cheating if you go and hire someone else. So as long as you're good at your work, you treat people right, and you are meticulous in what you do, but you have to have that relationship. This entire business is based on that.
Oh, yes.
Every single one.
So, I completely agree. Like every single thing that I've gotten, if you take out the aspect of meeting in person, things like that, there's no furtherness. Like there's no work. That's why you can't. When COVID and stuff like that happened, we used to do a lot of like online reaching out and things like that. But there's no like real talking to people, real knowing. It's Yep. I don't know if you know that. There's like somebody asks for something, or somebody's in need of something. In like minutes, 100 people get onto that. And that's where I think relationship comes in. Because if you have a relationship with somebody who does that, then you're all of a sudden further up that list, and you don't have to go through 100 people.
100%. But the other thing about that too, say take Yep, for instance, right? Like all the production companies here, everyone's going after the same thing, right? Yeah. But there's a lot of production companies that I've worked with as an actor for them, but then gain that relationship. But they know, even if we're going after the same thing, say you called me, right?
Yes.
And you're like, I need a red barn for this next shoot. Do you know anyone? And I've got that contact.
Mm-hmm.
I'm gonna give it to you because again, it's not a competition; it's a community, and that's how
Yes.
the community grows, which allows more work to come in and everyone to eat. But if you try to be just to yourself on things, you already don't think you're good enough. So let it be about how can we all help each other and get there. That's the only way this
I
game
agree.
works.
But-
Actors too.
Plus, I think, what word should I use? Wanting a gig too much and trying to do too much, it can also hinder you. You know what I mean? Like if somebody looking for like a production of a musical style that I'm not that good at, or I could be good at if I put a lot of time into it for like a week, and I kind of shooting myself on the foot because I'm then spending a lot of time learning something for something that where the return is not going to be good. I guess what I'm trying to say is that's where a community comes in, and I know somebody. Maybe you should work with that person, and if that works out, then
Even if it's
you
a
know.
lens or a piece of equipment or an
Right.
extra light, or do you know a great actress who looks like
And we had that talk actually weeks ago where we were looking for a very specific look. Man, that was a nightmare to cast. I'll tell you that.
I mean, if I told you some of the ones that I have to deal with.
Oh, I believe you, yeah.
But, you know, just going back to what you said too about that, and I think the biggest thing, whether you're directing or acting,
Mhm.
that if you agree to a number, whether it's $1 or $1,000 for the day, if you've agreed to it, it's the same effort no matter what. There's no, oh, they're only paying me this much. No, you agreed to it.
Mm.
It's a payment. You know what I mean? So, because sometimes I'll hear on set with people, not on mine, but when I'm acting with other actors, I'll be like, oh, well, we're not getting paid that much. So, you know. And I'm like, you took it. Doesn't matter.
I agree. I do have a question. What if the scope gets larger than what initially was told you? So, like, let's say tell you something and the pay is. And
Let's
you-
say, well, just for numbers, for
Okay.
easy numbers, let's say you said it was going to be 500 for 8 hours. Right? Like, that's what
Sure.
I mean. And then it gets, you now need to push it to a 12-hour shoot.
Yes.
So now there's 4 different additional hours.
Right.
It is on production then to come and renegotiate right there.
Okay.
It has to go both ways. Because, you know, a lot of times, right, productions will get upset at me as an actor if it happened the other day, actually. It happened yesterday, actually. They were upset because I had submitted for something
Mhm.
and it was for a big hotel thing. And then they offered me the gig as an actor. But I was now busy. They said a week had passed. They're like, oh, you should have told me.
What happened?
I
If you
turned it down.
Oh, okay.
But the thing is, had I not got it, do you think anyone's going to tell me?
Mm.
No. It's got to go both ways across
that's
the
what I don't
board.
like.
So to me, like, if I submit to something,
Mm-hmm.
once I've submitted, because when I was younger, I'd get in my feelings like, oh, are they going to get back to me? Are they going to get back to me? Now I submit and then it's gone. Won't even think about it again until it either gets booked or does not.
So
but
they
I'm just going to
only-
keep it moving no matter what. It's got to go on both sides, though. Like, I'm not going to check in with you on my schedule just because I submitted to something.
Yeah, I had something similar. I wanted
If
to.
you booked me and then I did that, that's a whole different game. Now that's on me. That's my end of the professionalism. But you know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's got to go both ways. So yes, I think the actors need to make sure that production. We have sometimes where we're really good about ending on time. And a lot of these places we're renting out locations. So we don't even really have a choice, or else it's going to cost me hundreds of dollars more per
Yeah.
hour. But if we hire a lot of the same actors all the time, I like people who have good energy. Energy is the
Mhm.
biggest thing to me. And that will destroy a set.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm a believer that if you take a project, so you've got an artist, he hires my company to do it, I'm directing it. It's not about me and them. You have to find a way, even if it's the PAs, even if it's the background, to make the project theirs as
Mhm.
well. Make everyone care about it. Because when you care, You don't
You
care
put
if
more
you have,
effort in
you
it.
put more effort, but
Yeah,
it means
yeah.
more to you.
Sure.
And that's the big thing. So I feel like I'm in a position where I could go to some of these actors now and be like, I messed up a little bit. I need an extra hour. Could you do it? And we've got that relationship. But if you're a production, don't just expect it. Just come with the respect. It's production. It's gonna mess up. So don't be like, oh, sorry, we're running 2 hours over. No, it's, guys, could we get you to stay for 2 more hours? This happened. We'd really appreciate it. That's all it has to be. It's just a respect thing on both ends. That's the way that
I
see
totally
it.
agree. I totally agree. I had both of the examples in different ways. I was trying to book a wedding, and I gave them a more than a fair price, and then it took them like a week to decide. But by the time that they were telling me that their
On to the
decision,
next one.
I already booked. I had another thing on that day, and they were giving me some weird juju.
You're
But
brave for doing weddings, by the way.
I was kind enough to even find somebody within like 10 minutes who can already do the wedding, do the pictures for a similar amount of price. But I didn't even get a thank you for it until I asked if everything worked. And not that I did it to,
No, but you run a business, you're doing good
Yes.
business.
Yes. And I'm like, well, how am I supposed
And
to?
you got that other videographer a gig, which in
Yes.
turn, when he or she can't do
Yes.
something, they might throw it back to you.
Yeah,
And then
yeah.
again, community, right? Like it's all full circle.
Exactly.
So,
Exactly.
do you like
That's-
doing weddings? I won't do them.
I love weddings.
Do you? You're a better man than me. I won't do it, man.
I don't know if it's better, man, but I'm a very romantic person. Like I'm very like connecting and stuff like that, and I always feel like part of the family today. I always arrive early, do the drone shots, and then try to have a story in mind. I when I got into it, I watched tons of it. I was bleeding wedding films in my goddamn heart.
But there's just so much that goes into them. And the stress level, not for you, but for the wedding attached to it, I feel like it would destroy my love of romance more than it would.
I got desensitized, kind of, because my fiance and I, we do not we don't want any of those things.
When are you getting married?
We're getting married at the end of July in Gatlinburg because her family, they have a timeshare there, and we want to be in a.
So you're not doing a Dollywood themed wedding?
We want to just do like a little hiker's theme and then go hike for 20 miles.
I love it. Congratulations.
Thank you so much. And then we're going to Hungary to see my mom's side of the family and dad's side, and have a little ceremony there, and go to Slovenia to have our honeymoon because it's cheaper. But we love hiking, and we always wanted to do some kind of outdoorsy stuff, But weddings, it is stressful. I've shot I got into it last year, and within 3 months I shot around 10. And there is a lot of competition, but also weirdly it feels like an easier gig to get if you have really everything that you need for it.
I mean, that feels like the most referenced filled
it is
one possible, right?
But
is it easier or harder once the wedding party gets drunk?
Oh man, I have a story that really pissed me off. I was shooting the dancing when they, what is it called, reception, when people were dancing and drinking, and I was shooting there with an expensive freaking lens, like $2,500 lens, and it was a rental. I was shooting this dude dance with a beer in hand, and decided to clink my lens cap, and it broke my lens. It wasn't.
Did you charge the wedding?
Or
did you eat it?
I was doing second shooting, so I was talking to the first shooter, and luckily the place had the where I rented it from, they had insurance on it. So I was like, thank God. But in
fairness, though, it could have been a really good transition shot.
It could have been, but it really pissed me off.
I bet.
Yeah, but now I'm way more. I could see it. You learn with the hardest lessons are the lessons you have to learn yourself, but they will stick with you. Now I have like this cap, this thing, I'm keeping a distance.
You know what it is though? Out of all the projects that we've done,
Mm,
there's not one I couldn't go back to and do something different.
yeah.
You know what I mean? Every single one of them, I would do something different, even if it was just minuscule.
But we
But
still have
like
to move on, and we still have to be okay with our decisions that we made.
100. We also
'Cause
have timelines
That
or
that
deadlines,
yes, that's
right?
the
Like,
difference. Like that's why I said that there's no perfection, but how do I say it? I used to try to aim for perfection, but now I aim for forward motion.
mm,
And it doesn't. You can't like in even in this. I'm trying to just talk about interesting material, stuff that interests you, both you and me, and give out stuff that people can think about. And if other people think about things, then I guess I made a cool
absolutely.
decision. And
Do you know what the tough thing is with perfection though? When you're on the production side of things, you'll have to put out work sometimes, and you give the product to the client, and they might like it, but ultimately, they can change whatever they want. They've spent the money, right? So it'll happen sometimes where we'll do something, and in my head, I'm like, it's perfect.
yeah,
Here you go. And then, oh, can we change this,
yeah,
and this? And you give in the nicest way possible your best argument why you believe it should not happen, but ultimately, you have no say. So now you'll go on the website, and on a lot of them, like the examples of the videos that we've done, you'll see a lot of director's cuts on there at that point. Like,
yeah. I feel that because there were some music videos that I worked on where I wish we had a bigger say because our vision wasn't fully actualized, and if it was, it could have been better. I mean, I want to try to be direct and say it like
but
that.
it's very, you got to be careful how you tread, right? Because
Yeah,
you can't ever tell someone that's paying you they are
you're
wrong.
right. You're right.
You have to find nice ways to try to get them to that decision on their own, and but then it becomes sacrifice, right?
Sacrifice.
If
Yeah.
I've got two different things that you're upset about, I have to try and pick the lesser of evils to sacrifice that so I can keep this artistically.
Yeah, yeah. I
So
get what you mean. A lot of this, 99% of it is how can you communicate it? How can you offer what's the word? I was thinking of safety, but that's not the right word. Comfort. Make them feel like it's still like the idea that they thought about. If something I'm saying you have
no,
an
no, no,
idea,
no, no.
tell me.
I agree.
But
I mean,
well, I agree. Yeah.
on our stuff, I come up with, out of all the projects that we've done, I've probably conceptualized 98% of them. So, and sometimes they're wild, right? And it's having to try and push that onto someone. It's like, but out here it'll be, but then CMT won't pick it up or this or that. And it's like, it's not the end all be all being on their website. I get that it helps and it's good and it looks really, really nice, but like the art of it just has to come first. Like, how do we make this so cool that it'll be undeniable? We have this one video that we shot out in Wartrace, Tennessee. And this was like, I had got the town to shut down the one bridge that went through so I could do a carjacking scene. I hired a real biker gang to come be in it. So this music video had a triple plot twist with guns and money and robbery and backstabbing and seduction. Like, it was this crazy thing.
That sounds awesome.
It's still my favorite video to this day.
Wow.
Funnily enough, it's all full circle, right? Funnily enough, we couldn't get the actor for that day. I ended up having to act and direct in that one at the same time.
Woo.
It was also two of our crew got COVID. So I lost two crew members. So all it was me, my DP, and a PA. And remember, I'm acting at the same time.
Ooh.
And directing this thing with multiple locations, multiple extras. And the girl that I told you that I do the like couples scenes with a lot,
Mm-hmm.
that was the first time that we ever met. So we did that video together. But there were some very like heavy scenes in it.
Mm-hmm.
Having to direct your own sex scenes is hands down the most awkward thing in the world. And me and her are such good friends that we're always good, but
How did you direct the sex scenes and do the sex scenes?
we are so incredibly meticulous about our pre-production and what shots that we're doing, that as long as the shots were there, and then I could have the PA come bring me a screen so I could watch it back and I can just know what I want to do. But Lisa, absolute professional. And before those scenes, we talked about every little thing that would happen, because that one probably could have had an intimacy coach type of thing. But we just talked about it so much beforehand to make sure everyone knew rules, what they were comfortable with, what they weren't. And there was no hate, especially for actresses, when directors don't tell them something and then they're put on the spot in front of the artist, in front of other actors, to do something that they might not be comfortable with. You'll never get that on my set. You know every little thing before it happens. So, yeah, that's really awkward, directing your own sex scenes. Don't do that anymore.
Wow.
I would never do that again.
Yeah, pre-pro is like one of the most important things.
Everything.
That's why, like, one of the things I don't like, if I'm just called to shoot something, and then I can tell that there's no pre-production because everything is out of order. I've shot some advertisements a couple weeks ago, and it was all so last minute that actors were needed like in a short notice. Like, that's why I was calling you. That, and they were looking for such a specific person in like such a little amount of time, and we had to scrape the location and everything. It was just a high stress thing.
I mean, me and my DP will be on the phone 5 hours going through on a Zoom call, acting out each thing and going over every angle, every single shot, every single angle, every lighting arrangement, every little thing is done. And it's sometimes, if I broke down what I was making on it with all those hours, it's not the most cost effective.
I feel you.
But how are you going to make it cost effective?
Yeah.
By making it really, really good.
Yes.
And demanding something. So lose $1,000 now to make 5,000 later. Like,
it's an investment.
It has to be.
One of our first music videos, which is my absolute favorite music videos. It's super cinematic. It has multiple stories. I might have to show it to you. There's drone shots jumping off.
I also got to see the one that I didn't get hired for as well.
Oh yeah, but that we spent tons of hours on. Like all of our music videos, we had multiple stages. We had the treatment phase, which is like 8 pages long, reference pictures, potential actors, actresses, locations, potential scene ideas, reference movie scenes, or yada yada. And if they like it, then we go to this like even longer thing, which we call it the script, but it's more like a shot list meets what's happening at what exact second, what angle are we shooting, what type of shot, drone shot. So it's a very meticulous idea, just like what you just described, being on a Zoom call. But my friend and I would sit for like hours and be like, I imagine this shot like this, doing this, wearing this. So it's, but without that, the whole shoot day is just chaos.
And you can tell. I mean, the biggest rule on my set that everyone knows that comes and works with us is, if you have something to say, production, all elements, if you have something to say, you come grab me and we walk away. I will never, ever don't ever let the client or actors think that something isn't happening in the moment.
Yeah.
Because it'll transcend over into them, right? And
plus, it's what you said, the energy. Like, you don't want to change their creative energy. And
no, as a director, you got to be a cheerleader.
Yeah.
Like,
yeah.
It's just
I know what you mean. Yeah.
They're long days. Like, you have to keep the energy up, because energy in a person, you can see it on camera.
Yeah.
The same way you can be a subtle actor and subtleties sell. Someone having low energy is a subtle thing, but you can see it.
Yeah.
So you have to
Oh,
I'm drained by the end of our shoots. I'm hugging everyone. I'm acting it out, running all over the place, and by the end of it, I can just feel like, but it's addictive. You love it.
it is. It is. Well, I'll be honest with you. I still have a headache. I'm trying to maintain my energy.
No,
but,
you're doing
but
great.
usually, like if you see me perform, like my idea of music was that it got to be entertaining, no matter what musical style, no matter what.
Mhm.
You know, and I used to have a big band, and I didn't want to have like one of those fancy jazz big bands, but I did have a funk fusion jazz metal big band. You know, we had cool. It was cool, but the idea was that I have to project all my energy to make people entertained. You know, so we had dancing. There was a big concert where we were so loud that the freaking mixing board got caught on fire.
What?
Yes, and then the
Who paid for that?
not us. It was at the school.
Say less.
It was at the school where I went to Berkeley College of Music.
Mhm.
I studied a guitar performance. I play fretless guitar too.
Beautiful.
And yeah, these are some of my guitars, but believe it or not, I have like 15 instruments.
I believe it.
Some of them my dad's. Anyway, so I always had these parts of the song where I had to do something with somebody in the audience. I had this samba song, and I went down and grabbed the women a few, and then we started dancing, and one more round, you know, because it was about entertainment. At the end of the day, if people go home saying that was fucking awesome, that means that you have fans. You gain people that like what you're doing, and you put out your energy, and then it will come back to you, hopefully one way or another.
Energy's infectious. That's
Yeah.
the biggest thing. And using the same actors a lot that we do, we always have this. It feels like a family affair on our things, like, but it's grown-ups, right? So you
Mhm.
know when to laugh and joke and be a family. You know when to get shit done, and that's all I
Yeah,
ever
yeah.
expect. We had this one shoot where I had this couple who were playing a couple
Mhm.
in the video, and I won't get into too many specifics because I don't want to hurt people's feelings, but their energy was so bad, and it was bringing down the entire shoot, and I could feel it affecting mine. I literally went and rearranged my shoot day to get all of their scenes done back to back to back, just to get them out of there. Like, I am so incredibly protective of my energy, of the production's energy, of everyone's. It can kill a. You know how it is. It'll
Oh,
kill
yeah.
a production.
It's the same thing with playing in a band. You know, if you're playing with a band that just one person doesn't bring that energy, that's why I said that it's not really about how good you are, but what kind of what is what it what kind what are you as a person? It's more about being having that personality. You know, I've had some people in my big band who had presidential scholarship, very good players. Well, they were very shit people. Like they would show up late, they wouldn't learn the music. I'm like, I don't care how good you are, but you're not bringing the right energy into the place where I want to put out as much energy for the people and entertain. That's not entertaining,
I
you know.
don't allow it.
So and that's another thing. Like you have to. I mean, I had to learn how to. Ask for my needs, tell people what I want, and be a good leader. And there's a lot of learning. I had to learn so much stuff and better so many things that I wasn't good at, or I was afraid of saying certain things, and I allowed things, so that I had to do a lot of learning in both fields. But I'm okay saying all of that. I think security also comes from being okay to let go and okay of telling people what you messed up in the past and how you went through them, if that
100%.
makes sense.
How else do you
You know.
evolve? How else do you grow?
Yeah. I mean, I made
How do
so
you get
much.
better? I've made so many mistakes, but I know it's like the most typical thing to say, but the journey really is the biggest part of it. Like,
Yeah.
I was never ever gonna make it in music, like, and I'm good with that. Like, I did it.
Why do you
I
say that?
I think everyone has a calling. I think you can have multiple callings. I don't think music was mine. I think I worked really hard, and I think I was good enough, and I had some really big things. I sold music to TV shows. I signed a couple of independent labels. I was signed to a Alicia Keys management
No
company. I had
way.
a publishing deal out of London,
Wow.
but I wasn't meant for it. It just wasn't what I was meant for. But from doing my music videos,
Mm-hmm.
I was acting in them too.
Mm-hmm.
I found out that I loved that. So from that, it
Hmm.
took me to an acting career, which in turn took me to um, directing. So it's like that journey and those mistakes and those little things, like all of it, it all plays a part to your destination, which is never
Wow.
ever really defined, right? Because that can always be moved further back. But had I not done music, I don't think I'd be directing today.
Interesting. So, correct me if I'm wrong. So, your journey was first being a musician,
Mhm.
and then you acted in your music videos, you directed them, you did as much of the work as you can. And throughout that, you learned, I love acting and directing. And that was kind of like your new calling. And then you made a shift to do that.
Yeah. So I've never taken an acting class. I didn't go to film school, but I was acting so much that I just watched people. I listened. And when you're an actor and you know what these other directors want from you, then when you're directing and doing that, it all works, right? Because now if I'm on a music video and I'm directing it, I know how to talk to production because I do production.
Mm-hmm.
I know how to talk to those actors because I was an actor. I
Mm-hmm.
know what to say to that artist
Mm-hmm.
because I was an artist. So now I can relate to you no matter which part you're in. Because I did shit in the beginning where
Mm-hmm.
I needed money and I was younger and I did PA production assistant stuff.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I hated it. I get it. But I know how to treat them the best way now to get the best out of them and just for it to just be a good set. But like, relatability is, I think, our biggest weapon for the company.
Yeah, I agree with relatability.
But
Yeah.
no, I just had, I have some of the bigger clients that we still text and stuff. One of the artists that I did the cowboy video with, the one with the guns and the
Mm-hmm.
everything, he just had his kid the other day, and the day his kid was born, he sent me a picture of his kid. Like that was the
Nice.
level of like connection and friendship that came out of it too. Whether he's amazing, but whether he makes another music video again or not, like it's my guy. You know what I mean? And some of those things, those relationships that come from this are more important. I feel like there's certain jobs, right? Whether you work in production, an actor, maybe at like a bar or a restaurant where you're together for those long hours and you go to war together, you can have met someone once on one of these things. And those friendships, I have friends from when I bartended however many years ago in New York that I still talk to.
Mm.
As people I see every day, I don't talk to them as much as you know what I mean?
I know
Like,
what you
there's
mean.
just certain fields of work that relationships get a chance to really grow. And if I'm on set with an actor all day long as an actor, and we're sitting there together for 10 hours, by hour 2 or 3, like we're past the pleasantries. So
Mm.
now we're gonna start talking our shit together, like in a good
Yeah.
way. So you get this different, like you get past all of our guards and you get these friendships that last forever and are so solid. It might have been someone you met once for 5 hours.
That is
There's
very
something really
interesting.
beautiful about that.
That
to
is
me.
very interesting because I see what you mean, and I've definitely experienced multiple times with somebody I met less than a day, and I feel like, oh, I know you. I feel like I've known you for like 10 years. I do. I only have two friends who I've known nearly 20 years,
Mhm.
and sometimes you go for weeks without talking, but when we talk, it's like no time has passed.
100%.
Well, then I have friends who I've known 6 years and I barely talked. And then I have people that I've talked for like 5 hours or been on a set. And then we're like, have a different like layer of friend. You know what I mean?
Social media
Well,
helps too, though, doesn't it?
yeah.
Because you feel like you're there for the ride, even if you're not
Yeah.
seeing everything. But no, some of those, like they could call me and I hadn't seen them in 8 years and met them once and could be like, hey, dude, I'm in Nashville. Could I crash? Probably. Like, I just think there's something special about that.
Oh, yeah. Plus, also, you guys are working together. You're offering. I don't know how to say it. Like when you're working with actors and you're doing these deep work to get them to trust you and to offer a safe space.
There's a level of intimacy
Yes,
to it.
that's the word that I was trying to look for. A level of intimacy. Like that you pass a lot of time to get to those places with people that we know for like 7 years, but we have like little amount of time to get to that point where you have that place. That's why I feel like I feel like I've known you for like 7 years. If that
There's
makes sense,
something, especially, like with the artist, his name's Asher, the one who just had the baby.
Yeah.
We talk. Like, that's my guy. I've War Trace, I don't know if you know where it is, but it's up past Murfreesboro. So it's like an hour and a half away. It's a beautiful little town with amazing, amazing people in it. And even the actors that were on Lisa, who was in that, she still talks to all those guys. And like, it just, you know what I mean? It was, we were a family that went to war together for the day. And we came back with something really, really good. And that stays with people. So, when we're all old and retired and it's all said and done, I don't even know what retired would look like. But once it's all said and done, like, that's the shit you're going to remember.
I'm like this.
You know what I mean?
I do. I'm like this with some of the weddings that I shot. Like, I love to, before I even go and shoot their wedding, my important thing is to build up a good rapport with the people. I want to make sure if they feel comfortable with me, that I know them, I know their name, the people who are going to be there, some of the other folks' names and stuff like that. And just to basically build up a good rapport. Because the better we know each other, the better I can do my job and not feel like, I'm in the way, and I want to do a banger video, like something they fucking love and adore.
Of course.
Because I want them to be happy. Like, we all want to make the people
you want them to hire you again, too.
For sure. I mean, but they're getting married. I don't know if I want them to hire.
I mean, in this day and age.
I mean, that's true, but
a repeat customer's a repeat customer.
Or they know somebody.
Yeah, right.
Yeah. Hey, I'm getting married again. Again.
You better take that judgment out that voice if you want to get that second
I
one.
know. Delete. I'm kidding.
I hated her anyway. No, it's actually...
Yeah. Oh, man. But I don't know what I was going to say. I was thinking about something.
No, this has been really, really good, dude. It's been a lot of fun.
Yeah.